Welcome everyone. My name is Lisette and I am part of marketing for MasterTax. I'm here with the MasterTax Director, Michel Zerella, and we're here to discuss some of the stimulus packages and some of the frequently asked questions that our clients have brought to us over the last little while. Michael.
Yeah, hi Lisette. Welcome everyone. I'm sure everyone in small business have had a multitude of information bombarded on them with regard to the government stimulus for the COVID-19 pandemic that we're going through right now. What we're trying to achieve today is probably answer some frequently asked questions, which are also hopefully on your mind, and provide some clarification on those.
Great. Okay, so Michael, the first question that we do have here is the JobKeeper payment. When it is referring to a self-employed individual, does it mean only a sole trader or self-employed people through other entities? And who is classified as a self-employed person?
Yeah, that's a very common one. I guess now that we've got the legislation through, the written legislation through, it does provide quite a bit more clarity to this. Effectively, self-employed will include partnerships, trusts and companies, as well as sole traders, as mentioned. So with regard to partnerships, so one partner will be eligible to claim the JobKeeper payment. In a trust, you'll need to nominate a beneficiary to claim, and in a company it will be one director in a multi-director company. Okay,
great. So what information is required to provide to the ATO for the JobKeeper allowance?
Yeah, once again, it hasn't been 100% clear, but we are now at a point where I believe we will need to be be able to provide evidence that you've experienced a 30% or more drop in turnover. I suspect we will need to provide a monthly profit and loss on a monthly basis. Obviously, the stimulus will go for 6 months, so a month-by-month basis, provide evidence to show that there's a 30% or more drop in turnover compared to a corresponding period. So for the month of April, compared to month of April in 2019, if that shows a 30% or more drop, you'll be eligible to claim.
Okay, great. And how do we receive the PAYGW payment from the government?
Yes, this is the cash flow booster, which is going to be automatically calculated by the ATO, and the information they'll use is will be based on your March BAS reporting. So they'll take into account your PAYG withholding amount, and for those who report quarterly, they will take the full quarterly PAYG withholding amount and provide a payment based on that amount after you lodge the March quarter, and then they will pay. So that will form half of the 50% of the stimulus, and then they'll pay the remaining 50% in 2 lots after you lodge your January and September BASs.
Okay.
Sorry, if I can just clarify, the second half will be based on your March PAYG withholding for quarterly, people that report quarterly. People who report monthly, PAYG monthly, they will be basing it on actual figures, so they'll use the March PAYG withholding and multiply that by 3 to cover the January, February, March, and then we'll continue to use the actual PAYG withholding for April, May, June, and that will give them the amount to pay for the 6 months leading up to 30 June, and that will form 50% of the payment. The other 50% of the payment will be paid after June, or in 2 lots, 2 equal lots after June and September.
Okay, Michael, so how do we get access to the JobKeeper payments from the government?
So initially you'll need to register your interest by simply Googling JobKeeper payment registration, and it'll take you to the first link directing you to the ATO website, where you'll need to fill in the business name, the legal entity name, ABN, email address and telephone number, and a contact name. And in the first instance, the first step is to register, submit and register. And people who have done that have indicated that they've received a confirmation email from the ATO that they've received the registration, and they will be in contact. So since then, they have been notified, and we understand that there will be certain paperwork that will need to be provided. Firstly, declarations from each employee to ensure that they're only claiming the PAYG payment, the JobKeeper payment, I should say, from one employer in the event that employees might have more than one job. There'll be some payroll information required by the employer, and also some substantiation to show that you've had a 30% or more drop in turnover, and I suspect you'll need to provide monthly profit and losses for corresponding periods last year to show the drop in turnover.
Okay, so what is the difference between job seeker and job keeper?
Yes, job seeker is another announcement they've provided, which relates to, I guess, individuals who have lost their job or been stood down and left with no income. Then they can apply to Centrelink for the job seeker payment. They have increased the spouse threshold earnings from 48 to 79, I think, which will then make more people eligible during this COVID-19 period. They've also increased the payment by $550, which I believe equates to about $1,100 a fortnight. Okay.
And can employers apply for the JobKeeper and PAYGW?
Yes. So the main eligibility criteria is a 30% or more drop in turnover is the key eligibility criteria. So you'll be eligible for the PAYG withholding, which will be automatic through the lodgement of your BASs, and the JobKeeper will require some more administration by registering, like I mentioned before, and then providing details of employees, as well as yourself. So if you're not an employee within your own business and you simply take drawings, as I mentioned earlier, in a trust, for example, a mum and dad trust, one of you will be able to access the JobKeeper. In a partnership, once again, one of you, and in a company, one director will also be eligible to claim the JobKeeper together with any employees you might have.
Okay, Michael, is the cash flow stimulus a loan?
Good question, and that has been on everyone's mind. No, it's not. It is a tax-free payment in the form of a credit against your BAS liability. So when you lodge your BAS, you'll be required to pay the GST as well as the withholding, and they will apply your the amount that you're eligible to claim under the stimulus and offset against that liability, and any surplus can be refunded.
And this JobKeeper payment, the $1,500 a fortnight, is that amount taxable?
Yes, it's taxable in the hands of the individual and also in the hands of the employer, together with withholding will be required on the $1,500.
Okay. The JobKeeper payment, does that affect other entitlements?
Yes, so it is considered as income within a family group, and it will be taken into account for any other benefits you might receive through Centrelink, such as family tax benefit, carers payments, included as income under the income testing rules with Centrelink, like any other payment.
And does superannuation need to be paid on the JobKeeper payment?
So this one's a little bit more detailed. There's been varying levels of understanding. So superannuation on the normal rate of pay to the employee is still required. You're still required to pay super guarantee as a small business, all businesses really. However, if the $1,500, for example, is far more than what an employee normally earns in a fortnight, then the employer is only obligated to pay superannuation on the amount of their normal hours. Anything over and above, it's at the discretion of the employer.
Michael, can an employer use the JobKeeper payment to pay annual leave?
Yeah, a commonly asked question. So you'll need to make arrangements with the employee and come to an agreement to be able to pay it for their annual leave entitlement, but it mustn't leave the employee with less than 2 weeks accrued annual leave. So yes, only by agreement with the employee.
Okay, so Michael, there have been some more recent announcements from the government regarding support for businesses, and you'd like to mention in regards to some of those?
Yes, I would, because they're more recent. The state government has come forward and announced a $10,000 one-off cash grant, and the eligibility will be for small businesses, the same eligibility criteria effectively as the JobKeeper payment. So employing South Australians, there is perhaps one or two additional criteria, such as turnover more than 75,000, registered for GST. So we will be providing more information as that comes to hand, but it will be a straight out $10,000 for those who are eligible to be a straight out $10,000 cash grant, and it will run in tandem to the PAYG withholding cash booster as well as the JobKeeper payment.
And Michael, have you got any other updates that you would like to address?
Yes. Now, for those small businesses who are renting business premises, there has been a government announcement in regards to the commercial lease tenancy code of conduct, and I think at this stage I would urge you to have a discussion with your landlord and come to some sort of arrangement in order to get some relief on your rent. So the criteria that's been announced is once again similar to the JobKeeper payment. If your turnover has dropped 30% or more, you'll be eligible to claim a reduction in your rent of a similar amount. But I urge you to speak to your landlord and have a discussion and come to some sort of arrangement.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Michael. I hope this information has been useful for you. If you do have any questions regarding your personal circumstances and you'd like to chat with Michael or the team at MasterTax, you can contact us on 8172 9150 or via email at info@mastertax.on.net. Thanks, Michael.